Well, good evening, and welcome
Good
to a
evening.
new edition of Real World News TV. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and I have my co-host, Sharon Champion, and we're back for the fall edition of Real World News TV. How you doing, Sharon?
I'm good. It's good to be back. Fall is coming. It's a new year, new topic, so we'll see what we bring.
Yeah. Tonight's topic deals with the virus as we look at the job market, okay, how the virus is affecting the job market. And as you know, this virus hit us when March of 2020, and everything got shut down. The economy pretty much got shut down. Companies laid off, companies closed. Just a whole lot of different things happened because last summer, going into the summer, the industry, entertainment industry, retail industry, hospitality industry were pretty much closed down because of the virus. No vaccine, people not taking shots, a whole lot of mess, okay? Just a whole lot of mess, okay? Um, but today we find ourselves in a different position, okay? Now, what has happened is because so many people were laid off and a large number of people were laid off, companies are trying to amp back up now as far as employees are concerned. So we have a large group of people out looking for jobs, okay? A large group. But one of the things that is happening, people have changed careers, left fields, but a lot of the people coming in to the job market aren't skilled people, okay? In those different industries, okay? So we got to figure out how do we put everybody back to work and at the same time we're able to give them opportunities and careers based on that limited skill set. So we got to work through that because what I'm finding out, I'm talking to a lot of people. They're putting in multiple applications, multiple resumes, but they're not getting calls back. Then I come in the evening and look at the news. The owners of small businesses are saying, "Well, we can't find people." Okay, that just is rubbing me the wrong
Yeah,
way.
but the issue there is, I mean, a couple of things that I want to say, and hopefully I don't forget. Number
Write them
one,
down.
yeah, really. Number one, COVID created the perfect storm with respect to the whole employment situation that we find ourselves in now. And if this demonstrates anything, it speaks to the success of the sort of anti-education, anti-intellectualism movement in this country. The fact that there are so many people who may not have graduated high school or college or gotten a trade to become skilled in something, whatever that thing is. You could be a particularly skilled, cleaning person or a skilled IT person, whatever it is. But to own that in whatever your chosen field is. So I think that that's a contributing factor. Um, and then when you say can't find people, I think we have to remember that we're not just looking for bodies, because if it were simply a matter of bodies, then poof, it'd be done. But you've got small companies that are impacted by COVID. They lost business. They may not be able to afford hiring as many bodies as they had before, may not be able to afford giving them the salaries that they deserve or are asking for. You've got people who are working, pulling double duty in retail and various industries like that, warehouses, etc. Um, you had people who were living off of unemployment benefits, which were significant during COVID, and I think speaks to the whole cost of living issue. So you've also got people trying to come back into the workforce now with perhaps a better understanding of what it is they need to survive, to be able to pay their bills, to pay their rent, etc. So going back to a $7.95 job an hour job isn't going to suffice, and frankly, $15 an hour in most states wouldn't suffice. So I think there are a number of issues occurring at the same time that are making this particularly difficult right now. I've been trying to recruit for a specialized position for about 4 months. And yes, we have 8.4 million, 8.7 million people unemployed. One, how many of those people are in New York? Two, how many of those people have experience working in the industry that I'm recruiting for? And then how many are qualified, whether they have experience or not, qualified in terms of, are they articulate? Can they write a business letter? Do they have strong technical skills? They're physical skills that can be trained. There's intent and a work ethic that you either have or don't. So it's been very difficult. And let's say that of that 8.7 million, 1 million of those are unemployed in New York. 100,000 of them may have been working in the hospitality and property management industry. And that percentage gets smaller and smaller. And then when you look at the pool that you have to select from in your state with competing companies for the same talent, it becomes even harder. I've placed untold calls and done phone interviews with people who said, I just accepted a job with your competitor an hour ago. So we're all literally chasing the same pool of candidates. And unfortunately, this particular position is one that requires experience. It's not one that we have the luxury of time to train for right now because it's direct client facing. The lesser roles on the administrative assistant level, we can train on those. So then it's just a matter of making sure that they have some of the intangible skills that are necessary to ensure that they have the foundation they need to succeed in that job. So I understand your frustration, but I just wanted to add a little perspective there.
Okay, and throw perspective out the window. Okay, granted, you're going to have a percentage of people that you're going to have specialized skills. Okay, I get that. Okay, but the majority of the population of that $8.7 million, I mean 8.7 million people, aren't going to have those specialized skills, and aren't going. And if you break it down any further, it might be, let's say, 50% of the jobs are for unskilled people. Okay, and we'll say the other 50% for professional and skilled people. Now, you've got a lot of unskilled people looking for jobs. Okay, but we're going back to pre-COVID, where employers are looking at certain things, and they're looking at a retail industry person to run a register, and they're scrutinizing them on their educational skills. Okay,
Yeah, that's a little silly.
and that's what is a lot of what's happening. Okay, because the person comes in, okay, has no retail background, okay, might have been a janitor, okay, but you can take that person in a lower level position and train them, okay. But a lot of these companies still aren't willing to do it. We had on the news today a grocery chain here in this area, Harris Teeter. they're going to cut their hours back to 9 o'clock because they can't find enough people to hire in this area. That's BS, okay? Because there are people out there looking for jobs. They might not know how to run a register. They might not know how to cut meat. They might not know how to stock a shelf. But you got to train them, okay? These are trainable positions, okay? So, I'm talking to people, like I said, are putting in multiple applications. They're not getting interviews, but then the same person who's looking, the same company who's trying to hire these people, they're on TV saying they can't find nobody. So there's a disconnect there somewhere, okay? There's a disconnect where the employers have gone back to pre-COVID, and what they're doing, they are they're going back to their pre-COVID, and what they're doing, they're scrutinizing people even harder.
It's interesting. In New York, I've heard a lot of restaurants complain that they can't get people who want to work as servers or busboys or busgirls. Um, and, this is sort of a college town. New York, you've got Columbia, Baruch, NYU, etc. So, yes, that's something that can be trained. But the other question is, you gave the example of a janitor working in retail. A janitor more than likely makes more than somebody does in retail as well. I know a lot of people, a lot of college students that formerly would have worked in bars. The whole COVID thing, I think, showed a lot of people how thankless some of these service jobs are, unfortunately. Yes, we had the 7 o'clock, banging of the pots and the clapping, and it was a really beautiful kumbaya moment during the summer, but that eventually faded. And again, people's sense of entitlement started to rear its ugly head, and actually probably worse than ever before because of the whole mask mandate and business being able to make up their own determinations. So I think that there's some folks who honestly don't even want to put up with that. Also, considering how much they made while on unemployment, it may be difficult for them to say, okay, now let me take this $15 a job, even though it's less than what I made on unemployment. Bless you. You want some water? There you go. So, you've got businesses that closed, small businesses that can't afford to reopen, so those jobs are lost. Businesses have participated in the payroll protection plan and still laid people off. I think all of those businesses should be forced to give the money back. Then you've got people who got the taste of the good life, and I put that in quotes, of working remotely. And I've interviewed, I can't tell you how many people who are now asking if they can do their jobs remotely. And again, there's some jobs that can be done remotely. They're 100% electronic. But, unfortunately, the industry that I'm working in is a paper-heavy industry. So, a physical presence, at least on a part-time basis, is still necessary at the office. And some people are really, balking under that. They want to find a job that's telecommuting. And I think that a lot of industries are really slow to sort of acclimate to this new cultural expectation, this benefit, if you will, in the workplace. We may get there eventually, and probably sooner than we would have had COVID not happened. But I think that that's something else that is problematic. I've interviewed qualified people but couldn't hire them because they wanted $15,000 or $20,000 more than our position was offering, and they wanted to work telecommute 100%. And until my firm and firms like mine are on board with that and are more paperless, that's just not an option. So it's because, in that instance, it's because of the individual's personal choice and not because a job wasn't available for them and an offer made.
I understand that, but when you get back down to the mid-level, lower level, mid-level jobs, companies have got to start paying people more money. Okay, that's just the bottom line of it. People want to make more money. You can't $7.50 an hour and $10 an hour is not the going rate anymore. So if you're going to be in business as a small business person, you have to pay the money. A pizza company here in DC, the owner is starting people out with $20 an hour, okay, with bonuses. because he's trying to get people in there who are going to stay,
Yeah.
and it's working. What has happened? These small and don't get me wrong, business you're in business to make money and to live a life of luxury. Okay, I get that. All right, I get that. But the the people who help you get there need to be compensated. And until businesses look at the compensation plans and what they are offering their employees as far as benefits, they're always going to have problems hiring people.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's also one of the points on my prep here. Say you have a company with 100 people, and 50 of those people file a number of insurance claims throughout the year for themselves or their family and children. The increase that will result in an increase in the premium, which results in a change in the percentage that, it results in a change that that company, on an annual basis, when companies have to do their insurance renewal and figure out what package they want to offer, the size of the company and the number of premiums, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The number of insurance claims filed for that previous year will dictate what packages that size company has to choose from and how much the deductibles are. So sometimes it's not the company's choice necessarily on how much the cost of that insurance costs. So you add to that, you compound that by the number of claims we know were filed last year, because of COVID and assorted illnesses ancillary to that. Not only did individuals get slammed, but companies, and especially small businesses, got slammed. So while I would love to sit here and say I wish my employers in general, would pay more towards insurance, I know it's a bigger issue for smaller companies that are, say, under 150 or 100 people versus the larger companies that are nationwide, because the number of claims filed kind of disperses through the national headcount of their company. So like I said, it's a perfect storm.
All right. You have companies out here that can provide decent benefit plans for small businesses under 100 people. One of the companies is Aflac. They have a variety of different programs and plans that you can offer your employee. That basically the employee be paying out of pocket themselves, but an incentive could be for the owner to pay a certain portion of that. Push the larger expense onto the employee, but give them something as a cushion. So there are plans out here you can develop plans, but a lot of these small business owners don't even want to do that because again, they're trying to live a life of luxury on the backs of their employees. Okay.
Well, I think the other thing we have to do is attack the insurance industries that are making a lot of these things cost astronomical amounts of money. The doctor may charge $50 for an aspirin, and the bill winds up being 500, or however which way you want to spin it, much like the pharmaceutical industry. So I think, let's start from the top and work our way down. Let's hit the insurance industry that's pimping us all out, making monies like it's nobody's business, as well as the pharmaceutical company. How is it that a major pharmaceutical company in this country charges $1,200 for a medicine that in another country would cost 25? It's inexcusable and it's anti-American. So I think if we can implement change on that level, it'll make it easier for companies to make selections that would directly benefit their employees. But you can't start this from the bottom up. We have to solve the problem up here first.
Well, it's called capitalism. Okay.
Say that again?
It's called capitalism.
Yeah.
It's called making money, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I know.
And another thing we got to look at too is that the black community is taking a big hit in this market right now. As far as
8.8%?
left behind in the jobs, okay. The
Well,
black unemployment rate is up higher, is higher versus the regular, employment rate.
well, it's interesting, as you mentioned, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that as of August, um, unemployment under African Americans was 8.8, under Asians 4.6, Hispanics 6.4, adult women 4.8, adult men 5.1, and whites in general 4.5, teenagers 11.2. So everybody's being impacted by this.
Yeah, but the black community is taking a bigger hit than any other communities.
I,
Um,
I agree with Colleen's comment. Businesses don't work for America; they work for themselves, and that's right. But
but you've got to bring the black unemployment rate down to meet the national rate. And right now, the black employment rate is higher than the national rate. So there's a disconnection somewhere. And what's causing that disconnection in the black community? That's we got to answer that question. Hey, 11% for teenagers, okay. They at home with the parents and things of that nature, and that money is basically when they make that money, it's just going to entertainment and clothes and food, things of that nature. But when you got people out here that depend on jobs to help them take care of their families, then what do we do? How do we approach that? And we got to figure out how to approach these situations that are taking place in the economy that's coming out of and it's still trying to turn itself back upright.
yeah, it's definitely a period of time where people are going to need to think outside the box a little bit. I was thinking about many, many, many years ago when I was a headhunter, and I would counsel people when doing their first thing I would do before I attempted to look for a job for them was ask them to make a list on one side of their vocational interests and another side of their occupational interests and experience, so that we can put the two together and try to find a unique combination that only they or very few people have. For example, let's say you were an administrative assistant who, on their off time, played rugby and volleyball and loved watching sports. Um, we would then look at sports magazines and things in that category. Um, or somebody who spoke an unusual language like Swedish but had a very specific skill set, looking for Swedish companies that might be operating out of the United States where they could combine that unique skill set there. And I think that may apply now, but at the same time, on the other side of that coin, as you had mentioned before the show started, employers are going to need to think a little bit outside the box as well. And I think if companies that I've worked for had stronger protocols for training, soup to nuts training on any particular position, it would make it a lot easier to hire people who may not have experience but have the intellectual capability to learn it and do that job. But if a firm doesn't have uh, proactive and strong training means in their office, doing that becomes a hardship because it means that the people who are qualified can't focus on doing their job because they have to stop what they're doing and spend a few hours every day training this person on their job. And it just gets to be problematic. So it's one of the things that I've been working on now for a couple of years with my current firm is to get the managers of all of the departments to put together all of their training materials and give me screenshots of the portals that they're using and making a really simple to follow pictorial user guide on what these sort of processes are, so that moving forward, training people who may not have the full breadth of experience we're looking for will be easier. Um,
And you make a good point that training is so important. And a lot of small businesses, when you begin looking at the small businesses that are 100 employees or less, they don't have any formal type of training, okay, program to train their employees. Okay, Joe, come on in Monday morning. We're gonna get you started. And okay, Joe, go do this. Joe, go do that, and that's it. I tell you, a good position or a good business people could be in right now is consulting small businesses in the area of training.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think too, if
Mm.
small businesses would develop training programs, their retention would be much better because first of all, you're getting the employer to buy into your company, to your business. When you're
Mhm.
going and saying, Joe come here, Joe come here, Joe come here, that doesn't give a person a buy-in. It's
Yeah.
just like they're just a gopher to go around and get things done for you and your business. But you've got to train people, and I think that's where a lot of small business owners fall short.
Yeah.
Uh, when it comes, they fall short in the industry when it comes to training their employees.
Yeah. 100%. And something you said made me have a thought, which completely escapes me now. But training is massive, and I agree with you. That is a niche that could probably do very well if somebody were to figure it out. Um, Alternatively, I've suggested offering overtime to, one or two people and allow them the opportunity to put a feather in their cap by conducting, formalized training and being a part of that process. I'm like, overtime now to get this one done and dusted so that we have the tools we need to move forward, or we wait for however long it takes to find somebody who's qualified for the position. And it's getting the companies to understand that. I think people who don't headhunt and don't recruit don't have a real concept of the level of physical and psychic energy that goes into making this happen, and a number of reasons. It's not like 20 years ago where you would simply post an ad in a paper, which people don't even do anymore, and then sit back and wait for the responses. I even remember as a job seeker putting my resume out on Monster, and I had 12 calls that day. And this is when Monster first started. But now there's this dearth of candidates on Monster and ZipRecruiter and other platforms like that, and it's not the same value that it was before. You may have more volume, but I can't say that the caliber or quality has changed. So on a
Right.
cyclical basis, I'll switch from one platform to another in the
Mhm.
hopes that I can capture the cycle of people who are using one platform or another. I spent 3 months on Monster and literally went through every resume of somebody that had direct or comparable experience. Then I closed that account and went over to ZipRecruiter. So you have to bounce back and forth. But now I can't even rely on them or headhunters, because headhunters, and I feel bad for them because it used to be a lot easier than it is right now. 7 agencies have not been able to get me what I need, but and they have an army of recruiters in their office.
Mhm.
I'm a person of one, and I'm doing my own headhunting through LinkedIn and other sources, and I've come up and managed to kind of tempt more people and more candidates than the agencies have. So, even they are going to have to change their whole approach. Your hiccups, you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's difficult. It's mind numbing. It's exhausting. It's a thankless job recruiting right now, and it would make my life at least 50% easier in my office if my positions were filled so I can focus on other things.
So now I'm gonna flip the script on the potential employees also because they've got to look at the fact too, and I think what's happening also on the flip side with the potential employees, they're looking for the pie in the sky jobs also. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they got to be willing to take some entry level jobs themselves and work their way up the ladder. That's why I'm a firm, believer in $15 an hour. We've got to get started somewhere to get the
Yeah.
ball moving.
Yeah. Well,
But
we
at the
have
same
that in New York. Mm.
Yeah, but you don't have it everywhere. You don't have it down in North Dakota out there in the boonies. You don't have it. You still have the national minimum wage. So
Well,
we got
what's
to
the
do a
cost
better
of
job.
living in North Dakota compared to New York? $15 isn't even enough in New York.
Right, but we got to get
Mhm.
started somewhere. We've got to get a firm minimum wage in this country that's more than what 7.50 or $8 an hour right now. Okay, we got to come up from there, and we got to start building on that from there. But potential employees have got to look at these jobs in a different light also. Uh, you, if you want to eat, you need to be out there working. You need to take a job and look at these jobs and work your way up. And so what happens too, you have employees, potential employees, snubbing their nose at some of these jobs when they shouldn't be. They should be,
Oh
jumping on
God,
them and going.
I, c- I
You
can't even tell you. I have jobs posted on ZipRecruiter, and I have people who are grossly underqualified, thinking that they can be a director or a senior account exec. If you've managed a gas shop, what do you call those things? Where you get gas. I don't drive. What do you call those things?
service station, gasoline
You know,
station,
yeah,
convenience store.
you know. That doesn't mean that you can manage a property or a department. If you've been as an assistant, a secretary for the last 5 years someplace, that doesn't mean that you could be the director of a department. And so while I respect the hustle and they're trying, because you don't move ahead if you don't, gamble, but some of these are just a colossal waste of my time. And it's frustrating because every time I
Yeah,
see a response to an ad, I get excited thinking, I'm going to finally fill this position and have a qualified person. And then I look at it and think this person had the gall to apply for a position that in no way whatsoever are they qualified for.
right.
So
And
that's
that's
also frustrating.
that's going to happen. People are going to apply for jobs and think they got all the knowledge in the world that they can just walk into this position and work it. So we got to figure out how do we make a happy media medium of bringing everything together and allowing it to collide so everybody be happy. Because if we go through another shutdown of this country, we're going to be back to the same thing. It's like I know Tony has problems with people with CDL license, but truck drivers are in high demand right now nationwide because they don't even have enough tanker truck drivers to deliver gasoline to the convenience stores and the service stations. They
Yeah.
just don't. Because what happened when the economy slowed down and people started buying gas, a lot of the CDL licensed drivers found other careers and they're finding out, oh, this career is a good career to be in. I'm going to stay right here,
Yeah.
and they're not leaving to come back out. And these CDL guys are getting paid arms and legs and bonuses, but they can't find the drivers.
Yeah.
So my thing would be if you not afraid of driving a big rig truck, go out and get your CDL license. You're
Yeah.
guaranteed to make at least $60,000 or $70,000 a year right off the bat.
Yeah.
You might be on the
Yeah.
road a
I mean, it's
lot.
it's not an it's not an easy job to be sure,
No,
but
but it's a
it's a
job.
job. Yeah.
And it's a good job. It's a good paying job with benefits. But this is another problem I have. There's a segment of the population that employers definitely refuse to hire. Okay, now you might be different.
I would hope
That's
so.
that group of people from 55 to 65 or
Hmm.
even 70. This is my thing. I'd rather hire a 55 to 65, 70-year-old person that has the experience because I know they're going to come to work. They're going to be dependable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, some, not all, because you got a lot of
Mhm.
wackadoos out there, regardless of age. It's interesting that you bring that up. I remember when I was a headhunter working for an agency in the early 90s. Uh, true to form, I'm altruistic. I want to help everybody. And my boss used to get mad at me because she would take a look at somebody and assess automatically whether or not they'd be able to place them. And she was also racist, which was really unfortunate. And I was too young at the time to understand that I had options on how to deal with that. But I, I had to leave the industry when I saw myself looking at people as, can I make money off of you and place you or not? And once I felt that shift taking place, I said, I need to leave this industry because that's not who I am. Now, when I'm recruiting, I do look at how much work experience somebody has, and I do conduct an interview regardless of how old they are. And if they are still present and accounted for, and if they are still articulate and show that they have the energy for the position, then I don't care how old they are. But taking off my hat, my personal hat, and my HR hat, I know that there are unscrupulous companies out there that would look at a resume and say, this person is too old. They're going to drive up my premiums by filing a lot of insurance claims. They're going to call in sick all the time, or whatever the assumptions are. Meanwhile, that person may be healthier than the youngest person they have on staff. I have somebody in my office who's pushing 90 and has worked with my firm for 30 years. God bless her. And she's still sharp as a tack. Where I have some of these millennials who couldn't rub two sticks together to make a fire if you paid them. So, I agree with you, that is an issue, but I think all of this speaks to a, for lack of a better word, cultural issue in our country in general that treats people as fodder for the gristmill. And can I wring you dry or not? How long can I wring you dry? And while you were talking before, I had a thought that, we've done shows on prisons for profit, the pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry with the benefits that companies are able to offer is its own form of prisons for profit, because rather than being invested in the wellness of people, rather than being invested in making sure that people overcome whatever their illnesses are and become the strongest, best version of themselves, they make it almost impossible for people to get the treatment that they need, whatever the issue is. And more often than not, if a company changes its insurance plan, there is something the new plan no longer covers. And all Americans have to go through that who aren't living high on the hog, which makes us, it seems reminiscent to me of the whole approach to prisons for profit. It's operating a business at our expense for profit, but what you're supposed to be doing is something that benefits me as an individual or society, whether that's stopping recidivism as opposed to being invested in it, or ensuring you have a healthy enough population that can compete in the workplace. Which brings me to another point, something that I have been saying since the 90s, when they were complaining about importing intellects from other countries to fill jobs in the tech and finance industry. And I remember a lot of people complaining about that. And I remember saying, if this country were to invest more in its education to ensure that its population could compete on a national and international level, we wouldn't have to import talent from other countries. That would be an option if we want to. And I think what we're seeing today speaks to that.
Well, a lot of in Silicon Valley, a lot of employees are from other countries. Okay, they have brought in a boatload of people in to fill those positions instead of, like you said, training American youth to take these jobs when they come out of high school and come out of college. Okay, that's why it's very important that we support the STEM programs, especially in the inner cities. We need to support STEM. We need to encourage our young people to participate in STEM because the jobs are out there and the jobs are coming. Once we can round the corner on COVID, the opportunities for jobs are going to be there. But that's why you get so many people coming to the United States, immigrating to the United States because they know it's a land of opportunity.
And they're willing to put in the time, and that's another thing. When I lived in Sweden, all jobs were respected. You said good morning and thank you to the street cleaner and the sanitation guys, because they kept the city beautiful. And in this country, there remains a stigma associated with working in any of the trades, plumber, electrician. Meanwhile, they make really good money.
Big money.
They're making really good money. So, and typical fashion with this country, we tend to bastardize things, right? So while I do support the notion of trade schools, I don't support the notion of a trade school that's replacing an academic school. They should both be options, or they should be options within the same school. So if you just want to study be an electrician or a plumber, that's fine, but you still need to take some core classes, reading, writing, arithmetic, etc. Just like in college, you could be getting a degree in literature, but they make you take freaking physics and chemistry, which is, to me, is a waste of money at that level because you've already decided what you want to do with your life. But it used to concern me when I would see trade schools go up, because I would see them go up in predominantly minority communities which didn't sit well with me then because I didn't understand that a lot of these trades potentially can make more money. But in my mind, I saw it as them corralling this population, this community, into service-oriented positions that will never lead them to becoming, wealthy or competitive on the higher levels. That I know now that is not necessarily
That's
true.
right. That is
But
not true.
but I also am a strong believer that we still need to teach some of the core basics. Otherwise, you wind up with a segment of the population that thinks you can take horse dewormers to fight COVID, and believing a lot of the other nonsense that you see in the right-wing media now. So education is important, just as important as gaining a trade skill so you can earn a living.
Well, let me tell you something. Don't be down on them trade school guys, because I know some of those guys that live in very nice houses and drive very nice cars because of the money they can make in trades. Now, if President Biden's bill ever gets through Congress and the Senate again, his economic bill for infrastructure, there are going to be a lot of jobs in that area in infrastructure, because there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be replaced. And when I think about that, I wish I was a little younger than what I am now. I would definitely have me a business that deals in uh, pavement, uh,
Yeah.
uh, building roads, highways, and bridges. Now,
Mhm.
at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore here in the state of Maryland, they have a degree is part of engineering, learning how to pour concrete. Reason being, because most of your highways are, the foundation is before if they use asphalt, the foundation is concrete. They have degrees in that. So yeah. So what you're having on the college level is a degree that has a concentration. I don't think University of Maryland show doesn't have an engineering program, but they have a degree that allows you to be an expert in the area of how to pour concrete, how to build with concrete, how to lay foundations. Okay, but then you also have that, like you said, an educational component also, where you get your reading, writing, and arithmetic at the same time.
Yeah.
And when you come out, you have a degree in an area that's much different. Like my son um, has a degree in gas and oil exploration, a master's in that
Hmm.
from Texas Southern University in Houston.
Hmm.
That's the gas and oil industry, and I tell them you need to get out of it. Sometimes it's an up and down industry,
Hmm.
but it's a degree that at one time you didn't hear many blacks going into getting that master's in there, either getting a 4-year degree in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the degrees are out there. Also at North Carolina A&T University, another HBCU, they have a program to train students on how to be race car drivers, how to operate, how to manage that field, how to manage a race car team.
To
So
go back to one of your early comments, though, when we were talking about the 8.8 for African Americans in this
mhm,
country, we also need to ask ourselves, or what I just asked myself, is how many of those may have a criminal record? Not because they necessarily did anything wrong, but because
right.
they're operating in a police state that
Hmm.
arrests you just because you're walking down the street,
Hmm.
and then claims that you are resisting arrest or whatever other nonsense they want to do. A number of jobs require clean records, and I think what Tony recruits for is one of them, and that is also a major component in the inability of some of these folks to get work. So I think that if Biden were to do anything, like in New York City, a couple of years ago, they changed the law so that when they're doing drug testing for assorted positions, they're no longer allowed to test for THC because it's become so
Hmm.
common and it's legal in several states and countries, etc. Now, I think that if something could be done similar to that, not talking about drugs in general, but some kind of a forgiveness or clearing of the record, or something that would enable the significant part of this population that does have a criminal record to get work, I think that would also help increase the numbers.
Well,
People are screwed.
I know with the American Job Center, they will give a person who has a criminal background bonding letter. They
Hmm.
will go ahead and bond them, so the employer doesn't have to worry about if something happens, whether it will get compensated for that loss. So
Right.
there are programs out here to get people involved. Now, we that's another segment of the population we got to work with. Those guys that have been incarcerated and are coming home. I work with one guy right now. He was incarcerated for 25 years.
Mm.
It's hard, for but he has a very positive attitude, and so a program through American Job Center might be able to land him a job in the industry, like as a janitor or something like this, and they would give him the bonding letter to give to the employer, so the employer would won't have an issue with hiring him because of the background. Now, when I was working in the industry where I really had to do a whole lot of hiring, I hired guys that had backgrounds.
Hmm.
And basically, what I told them, I said, "Look, man, this is my bread and butter. I got a house, I got a family. You better not, what me up, okay?"
Hmm. Hmm.
I said, "Because I'll come after you." I said, "Now I know you're not going to stay here and work for me the rest of your life because this is a stepping stone. So if you come in here and work for me a year and you find a better job, hey, kudos to you. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But don't f my job, okay? I'm telling you
Hmm.
straight up, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my money.
Yeah.
So because I knew, and I do know even today, it's hard for guys that have been incarcerated and females to come out and find jobs because the first thing somebody looks on your resume and see or your application, I spent where you been for the last 2 years where, I had to pull some time. And we got to get away from that. It's a lot of good people that have made mistakes.
Yeah.
They come
Yeah.
out and can do an excellent job.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is in these prisons, considering the millions of dollars they're both making and given, need to invest in educational programs and training programs so that they are capable of doing something when they get out. If all they do while they're there is fight, eat, shit, work out in the yard and whatever they showed you on Orange is the New Black or whatever, then what do you expect them to do when they get out? They'll do whatever they need to survive, and that includes doing something illegal if necessary, because you created a certain circumstance where they have no choice. So, there's so many things in this country, globally, across the board, that have to change culturally, psychologically. Um, it's exhausting to think about it, but it all boils down to that.
And one of the struggles, while I'm laughing, I'm thinking one of the struggles we have in the black community, as far as jobs are concerned, we have to compete with the other minorities in our community. Now, because of the war, we have a large population of people from Afghanistan moving here into this country. And they're going to get a lot of help in finding jobs and assimilating and help. And they're going to get a lot of help to with them, to help them assimilating to the population here in the United States. It's like the black community is getting pushed further and further behind to a certain extent because the jobs that we should be doing and not being afraid to do are being taken by other people, other minorities that come into this country or are here at this time.
Well, we
So we got
also need to be
like
more
that.
yeah, but we also need to be more entrepreneurial. Like
Hmm.
my good friend Takesha, who's watching or was watching earlier, and build companies that create jobs for our community, so that we can become masters of our own destiny and contribute to lifting up members of our community. But as we've mentioned on prior shows, the diabolical system implemented by the imperialists that we call divide and conquer, we maintain ourselves now. And
Hmm.
we're too busy infighting or being distracted by commercial goods and immediate gratification of things that we don't need, that we don't have the wherewithal to invest in ourselves and our own communities. We're also told so often throughout life that we can't, that we'll fail, that many don't even try.
Hmm.
So, and they don't all have mentors such as yourself that can help guide them and support them, at least spiritually and psychologically, in saying, yes, you can. And so what if you fail? Failure is its own success because you've learned something and you keep going. But we don't have that. We don't have institutions that teach us how to save and invest. Our schools don't do that. But the wealthy benefit from that. And they're practically born knowing how to play the stock market, etc. So, these are things that we need to work on in our community as well, pre and post COVID.
Yeah. And one of the things that it is happening where I'm finding and seeing that a lot of blacks are going and opening up their own businesses. And like they always say, when you have a bad time in your society or in your economy, that's the best time to start a job. I mean, start your own company. So COVID has given people the opportunity to start their own businesses. When you look at your skill set and you've been laid off from a company because of COVID and other things, and maybe a company you worked for 20, 25 years, and then you turn around and look at your skill set, you say, something, I can take my skill set and go out and start my own business and be successful. So I think one thing you're seeing in the community now, in the black community, a lot of businesses are opening up, many different types of businesses. Main one being restaurant. I mean, if you come into the DC metro area, there are so many black restaurants going up at this time. Little small, nice restaurants going up.
Have you tried them?
Foods. Huh?
Have you tried them yet?
Oh yeah, I love to eat. I mean, it's like even in my little small town in North Carolina, population 2,500, it's right north of Raleigh, North Carolina, the capital of North Carolina. The downtown has been revitalized through small businesses. People now are willing to drive out of the large city into the small city, find some, nice little restaurant to eat at. There's a Jamaican restaurant in my little small town I grew up in. So people are gravitating and saying, pivoting and saying, look, hey, I'm not going to depend on these large corporations anymore. I'm going to go out and make something happen for myself.
Yeah.
And you got to do that regardless of what your race is. If you think you have the skill set to do it, do it.
100%.
Go for it. I mean, just go for it. I mean, I look at what we do here on Real World News TV. I feel a little rusty tonight. I think next time we're not taking 3 months off again. But
was it 3 months?
Yeah, I was almost to enjoy the summer.
Hey, baby.
We went out in May or June, and we're just coming back. I think next time we just need to take every other week off or something like that. But this could be a platform for a national program. We never know what can happen. So people now are going into they have the entrepreneur spirit now.
Yeah.
And they're going for it. They're saying later for you. They say, you're probably going to call people up trying to recruit them. They say, oh, I just started my own business.
Maybe one of these days we should do a show that gives like 1 or 2 minutes to, a few entrepreneurs to introduce their business, their website, et cetera, et cetera. I still need to figure out how to get you some bling berries. Now, are you in Carolina or Maryland?
I'm in Maryland.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm coming to Maryland for some Jamaican food. I found a place up by me that makes ackee and saltfish.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, are they good?
They're good. I love myself some Jamaican food. I love some oxtails.
I make a good oxtail.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
12-hour slow cook.
Oh, yeah.
Perfection.
I love it. I just love spicy food, okay? So I'm looking for entrepreneurs that want to, open up restaurants. And look, let me tell you something else. You're talking about being an entrepreneur and what, how we're pivoting in the Black community. Now you got a lot of young chefs are doing personalized, being personalized chefs.
There's a fella in my neighborhood, a Rasta man, who does
you
that.
Can call them up. They'll come to your house, fix your meal, and leave.
Yeah, no, I think he prepares it at his place, but he also makes and bottles his own hot sauce, which I haven't tried yet because I've been dealing with some acid reflux, but it's sitting and fermenting in my fridge, just waiting for the day. Now
Right.
it's not going to be like my Bayesian cucumber hot sauce that smacks you and strokes you at the same time, but I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Mhm.
So what I'm saying to the black entrepreneurs out there tonight, blacks that desire to be entrepreneurs, create your own path.
Yep.
We've seen obstacles thrown up at us right now in the job market where people are questioning your credentials or whether or not you're a good fit for them, but they're getting on TV saying they can't find people. Hey, forget them. Make your own money, make your own path. I think it's a good time. You know, I wish COVID had never come around, but COVID has opened up doors and has opened up opportunities for, everyone to just go out and say, look, I'm just doing my own thing now because you really don't know what's going to happen 10 to 15 years from now when you be back out on the street again. So at least if you go back on the street again, you go out on your own terms.
Yep. Well, we have 2 minutes left. Does Tony want to chime in?
Where is Tony at? Now we'll bring her mother in. Let's bring her mother in. Her mother
Mommy.
I gotta try and give Mommy a camera.
Mommy Palmer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. She listens all the time. So this is where I have to start cleaning up my language.
I'll do it for you, Tony.
I hear about it all the time. All the time.
Well, she must agree, though, that the circumstances warranted.
Exactly.
When we were talking about Trump, you had no choice but to curse. It was a requirement.
Oh, my God. Great show, you guys. Great, great show. Mommy says hi. Oh, my gosh. You know what? I like the idea of bringing entrepreneurs on. And I'm not talking because see, Reggie brings on entrepreneurs on his show every week on Monday night. I'm talking about those restaurant owners, those who are starting businesses, in the food industry, trying to, feed their communities, things of that nature. I would like to see you guys do that maybe once or twice a month, highlighting a small business in New York. Reggie and Maryland.
Takesha Bowens would be my first. The bling berries that I'm trying to get you guys.
Give them 5-10 minutes of on air time so that they can get their spiel together. Give them that 10 minutes, and they got to cram it in 10 minutes, and that's going to be some good advertising for them. Another thing I'm going to say, okay, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, right? The Hot Topics Talk Radio Network is an entrepreneurship. Started 11, 12 years ago, okay? My whole idea is that if you want us to promote you, then you need to promote us. That's what networking is about. That's what entrepreneurship is about. Don't be afraid that someone is going to steal your light and all these different things. Each week I put up, the strolling banners underneath you guys' show topics. And it tells people, if you want to become a sponsor of our shows, of the network, get at me. Get at me. This is how you're going to get advertising for little or nothing in comparison to mainstream. Get at me with it. This is how we grow our wealth. This is how we do it. But too many people are afraid to do that.
So you hear that, Takesha?
But you've got to spend money to make money. And I think that's one thing our black entrepreneurs haven't figured out yet. If you're going to make money, you spend money.
Yeah. I mean, we've been spending money for 11 years. Our own money. We didn't go out asking for loans from banks or anything else. We spend our own money to put these shows on. So I'm just telling you, okay? So it's not cheap to do. We have to, we have to make sure that what we are doing is going to be on point, but also is going to bring a message and be able to also promote others. So that is what entrepreneurship is about. You don't have to take it in and keep hold tight of it. And I'm not going to tell my secrets. You know, who cares if you got a business that's a good business that is going to do something not only for your community but for your pocket? Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
We all need a piece of the pie, right?
That's right.
All right. So, with that being said, I wasted my time.
Never a waste, honey.
I just want to, say to you guys as viewers tonight, I really do appreciate them tuning in. I saw some people on that had never watched the show before, and I really appreciate them coming in and spending time and commenting and being interactive with you guys because it makes such a great difference. And I am going to ask that they also not only just come in and pop in, follow the show. Follow Real World News TV on Facebook. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. This is how we grow. And it's not just the growth of the network or the show, it's the growth of you. These are ways that we can help to promote what you're doing. If you're, I saw one of my drivers pop in, hired when I was over at a different company. She's popping in. I want to be able to highlight what she does one day, because they put up with the public. She's doing things that some people think, is outrageous, is to drive a bus. But these are people who run the system. They make sure that it all ties together, getting people to their jobs, to school, to wherever, or just for everyday leisure. These are the kind of people I think that deserve to be highlighted along with those entrepreneurs. So I want to say thank you to Miss Rosalind for tuning in, because she didn't have to. She's got a schedule that she gets up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So crazy. But we should be highlighting someone at least once or twice a month. So I'm just going to put that out there. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are going to get out of here. We have run past our time because of me. For tomorrow night. All right. So where are we? So tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio TV with me and Yvonne Baker, we're going to be talking about a nation that is divided, going from 9/11 to a Capitol insurrection, where people were working together to save the Capitol on one of those flights on 9/11 to where we were just on January 6th, where they're tearing it down. That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow night. So I'm really hoping that you'll tune in tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio with me and Yvonne Baker. The show starts at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Make sure that you go back on Facebook after you get off tonight's show. Follow Real World News TV with that wonderful, wonderful man, Mr. Reggie Kearney, and that beautiful lady, Miss Chair Tappan. So that way you can get notifications of all the shows and just be a part. Be a part of what is going on. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, you two.
I wish I could join you tomorrow. I'm going to the Black Pumas.
I know.
If I can record any, I'll post it.
Okay, do that. Yeah. Do that. All right, everybody, we're out of here. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you tomorrow night along with Yvonne Baker on Hot Topics Talk Radio. Thank you, Real World News TV, for keeping it real, always. Always.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. I had a gnat.